Hello and welcome to Prospectus episode 5. This week we are looking at physiotherapy. So what is veterinary physiotherapy? So first of all, veterinary physiotherapy involves the assessment and then the treatment of musculoskeletal and neurological conditions in different animals, and it combines understanding these conditions with the movements and the understanding of the different changes in that animal's physical movement and the knowledge of that animal's anatomy and how those neuromuscular systems and the musculoskeletal systems work in synergy, and using that knowledge to identify potential problems and then come up with different solutions for that animal. So is it only injury? No, it's also looks at performance. If, for example, you're one of those people who is looking at riding, it might be strengthening, let's say, a weaker part of your horse, let's say a front forelimb. You might be looking at how you are going to develop and train that, and if your physio leans towards sports training, they might be looking at different ways of increasing the muscle tone on that particular part of the horse and how to go about that. If you think about it from a dog point of view, and you're competing your animal in agility, fly ball, even competitive obedience, the physio might be able to provide you with knowledge about how to warm your dog up effectively, how to cool it down, as well as different strengthening techniques that you could use at home as a bit of homework and different activities that could go hand in hand with different dog trainers, or there might be a dog trainer as well. So now, how is this all achieved? So what do they do to get the results? So movement therapies, so that can range from passive range of movement of different limbs and joints, so i.e. without a lot of effort from the animal. So that might be assisted walking, or so things like taking it over an obstacle course. Now, that obstacles might be poles, not necessarily things like agility obstacle courses. Now, manual therapies are more hands-on. It's thinking about mobilizing the joint, relieving stiffness, relieving pain, and then this links to more soft tissue techniques, so massage, myofascial release techniques, which look at loosening tension in and between the different soft tissues of the animal's anatomy. And also these different techniques can be used in both the land setting, so think in the field with your horse or in a centre with your dog, or it can be linked to water-based environments, so such as hydrotherapy, and using that hydrotherapy setting to really apply or provide more support for your animal, both with equine and canine, but it can also be used in cats and other animals as well. So different hands-on techniques can, if consistently applied, be demonstrated to improve physical function of that animal and also enhance performance. Now, what I want you to think about is, now remember, in this sector there are a lot of other professionals doing possibly similar things, such as trainers, osteopaths, people who are dealing with massage, hydrotherapies. So the question is, how then do vet physios stand out in the market? Now, it's regulation. They have a regulator, and it's legally regulated by 2 regulators. Now, a regulator is someone who ensures that employees, personnel, members all adhere to a code of conduct, and this gives a customer confidence that, and the vet who's referring them to those. With these regulators, you need to both follow certain guidelines and trade standards, but you also need to ensure that you are, in a lot of respects, you've either done degrees and then have got qualified later on, or you've gone straight in and with an approved degree. Other routes don't necessarily have to do that. Now, at the animal route of physiotherapists look at, their regulator is the National Association of Veterinary Physiotherapists. they have 5 standards that their members work towards. Now, this is, firstly, they have to be qualified and recognised through a suitable training program or degree. They have to carry out appropriate professional and public liability insurances, so they have to produce certificates for review. Work in accordance with current legislation alongside different veterinary organisations, veterinary surgeons, and in close conjunction with members of other related professions, so that's your saddle fitters, your horse and dog trainers, and your farriers. So they're also required to follow the NAVP's Professional Code of Conduct and Ethics. If this is something you're interested in, by all means check their website and just look for Code of Conduct. And they're also required to complete CPD, so Continued Professional Development, after they've achieved their qualification. And this is showing that you are constantly updating your knowledge. So they have to meet a certain amount of annual CPD hours to be able to maintain their membership status. Now, this can be short courses, this can be different events that they've gone to, but it has to give a CPD certificate. Now, as long as you follow this and pay a membership fee, you're under this register. And in terms of offering you more, if you do this type of action, a lot of employers, for example, might pay for your membership in some cases, but also if you are regulated, there is that element of trust from the consumer. Without the regulation, no element of trust, more risk for the consumer. They are less likely to come to you, and it puts your career more at risk if someone else does a mistake in your field if they aren't regulated. Now, the ones you have to be aware of are, firstly, talk about skills that you need and talk a bit about them. So marketing, you've got to be able to sell yourself and come off professionally to your customers, which links to the customer service. You've got to be pleasant and being able to talk to them honestly and professionally, and have a degree of financial acumen so you can manage your own business. In terms of degree, you need to look at, most vet physios will work for themselves, and as a result, the level of qualification can be your marketing tool. So in terms of your marketing yourself, the more qualifications you have after your name, generally speaking, people look at that as you're more qualified. So for example, after my name, if someone is searching for me professionally, it's Jordan Millward and then BSc. And after I get more qualifications will be listed after my name. So that's the qualification heading, not the qualification title. Now, although I want to talk briefly about BScs, my recommendation for the degree route is an MSc, as this is generally the level that will make you stand out the most in the field, and it can be attached to other qualifications in the animal sector that will potentially benefit you more at the BSc level, specifically veterinary nursing, but this could also be equine science or animal behaviour. So these would all complement a BSc, but equally a BSc in veterinary physio could be complemented by them at an MSc. But the main reason for that, doing the MSc in vet physio, is a lot of your employers will be looking at paying you that uplift for the MSc. Now, all these degree routes offer both BScs and MScs, but what I want you to think about is, if you're studying at those universities as an undergrad, it might be more comfortable for you to move easily into postgrad at that same institution. And that is sometimes also because if you get a first, some universities will offer you a free master's if you achieve a first. Now, that's not to say that is always the case, but it generally can be the case. So then you've got, my free picks are Harper Adams University, Writtle University, and the Warwickshire College Group. Now, all of these universities teach very similar modules because they have to give you that accreditation. So that's biomechanics, lab works and dissections, anatomy, all of which are embedded into those courses. So what I'm going to do instead is talk to you about the differences in the universities. So I'm going to talk through the methods of delivery, campus life, degree design, additional course offerings they might have, because this is what's going to make them stand out more. So starting off with Harper Adams. So Harper Adams, in terms of a campus, it's a very rural campus. It's got its own farm. It hasn't got as a developed equine unit as a lot of people who want to specialise in horses might want to. However, they use a stud in Shropshire called Twemlows. Twemlows, sorry. And this stud in theory could also offer you potentially a placement afterwards, or potential future employment or further work experience to upskill and get more CPD experience. But your main pulling point for that is, a main offering is the fact that they run a commercial veterinary physiotherapy unit on the site, so you're dealing with actual client cases. So the professional studies element is attached to your course. Now, degree design, the BSc is 4 years, 2 years which you taught, 1 which is a placement, and then a further 1 which is your final year in academia. Now, what I want you to think about with this is, if you do your master's degree, you are doing 2 years. So just 2 years doing your master's degree route. Now, in terms of the campus lifestyle, what you need to think about with student life at Harper Adams is, it is a very rural campus. It's situated, closest city is Telford. After that it's Birmingham, but it's very rural feel to it. The main thing that makes Harper Adams stand out is because specialism is in the land-based field. It's been a specialist in the land-based field for a number of years now, and is routinely ranking, in terms of what uni's ranking, consistently in the top 3 universities in terms of the student experience. And that's something that might be a consideration for you, and especially if you're doing another undergrad, which is different than planted topped up with veterinary physio, that might be something that you should look at. Now, other things that you might think about is, you might think about the design of the degree. So, as I say, the design of the degree is in terms of how you think how it links to the other degrees. They have animal nursing, they have animal behaviour, they have other veterinary routes such as bioveterinary science if you want to work more lab-based, and potentially want to specialise more in the support side of the vets. A veterinary physio route combined with a lab route might give you more range, perhaps, and that's something you've got to work out for yourself in terms of that respect. But the other benefit that you've got to remember, both Harper and Riddle both have farms, both of which will give you the opportunity to work with stock animals, not just companion and equine. Now, moving on to Riddle. As a campus university, it has got a similar feeling to Harper, but it's not as well established as Harper Adams. It's not been at the same level for the same amount of years, so therefore the range of courses that has been offered at Riddle aren't as, in some cases, as well known as the Harper Adams degrees. That's because Riddle's specialisms tend to be more towards offering more niches in companion animal sectors, so that might be, if you're really interested in dogs, I would still recommend pursuing veterinary physio over canine therapies. However, you could use the fact that they specialise a lot in canines to boost your veterinary physio knowledge, because the by identifying how they specialise, you can identify what the skills of the lecturers are going to be and what skills stand out to you. So course offering again, 2 years. You can do a part-time MSc if you want to, which extends it slightly, but that is entirely up to you. So you can do 2 years or you can do 3 as a part-time route. Now, campus lifestyle. Now, the campus life is going to be very, very similar to Harper, but just not necessarily on the same scale, and will be slightly different for the vast majority of you, as a lot of you are based down in, or all of you are based around the Suffolk region. So if any of you want to stay close to home, you may well find that Writtle is a better fit for you if you want to stay at home. And then that takes me on to my last choice, which is the Warwickshire College Group. Now, the other reason for ranking these universities in this order is Harper Adams, then Writtle, then Warwickshire College Group have got their accreditation in that order, or they're promoted in that order on the NAVP site. So that is not necessarily, they aren't ranked per se, but some people will view it as a form of seniority because of the level of development that they've got, or the level of course offering that they provide. However, you will come out with the same standard of degree at any of those course offerings. Now, the Warwickshire College Groups, in terms of its location, whereas Harper and Writtle are rural campuses which aren't too far from cities, the Warwickshire College Group is more city-based. Now, their course offerings generally lean to a greater range of courses, from business to social sciences to human nursing, etc., or human social care. The issue that you have there with a broad range of offerings is that can sometimes lead to different departments being in silos. If you have a silo effect in some cases at a degree level, what might happen if there is a strict animal team, you might find from a campus feel that there'll be an animal agriculture land-based area, and there'll be a business area, social sciences area, and there'll be some campus competition between different courses, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. However, what you've got to bear in mind is, being in a more urban environment, you're not necessarily going to have the same broad offering of wider animal species to work with. So you'll still get horses, still get dogs, but if any of you are interested in the farming side of it, you won't get the farm side of it. It depends on how important that is to you. However, you have also got to remember that Warwickshire is very close to a lot of the British horse racing industries, as well as British dressage and British eventing, are all based out of Stoneleigh, which is the Warwickshire showground. Now, with a lot of the horsey or equine events being based out of Warwickshire, that might be an appeal for those of you who want to go down the equine route more and potentially want to get placements and university jobs after that in that type of location. So in terms of if you want to pursue equine, potentially there is more of a pull for Warwick, and that's what the Warwickshire College Group again, not the university, two very different things, but that's something that you should bear in mind. Now, the other point that I just want to leave on here is my personal recommendation for this is if you want a veterinary physio qualification and you want to pursue this as a field, I would strongly advise pursuing it as an MSc, not as a BSc, purely because some employers will pay you at a higher scale. If you have an MSc, and if you have an MSc in vet physio, it might offer something different at vets that you're working at. If you're a vet nurse, you might be able to offer it as a new skill, another department, and that's something you could potentially look at in more detail. Just something to think about. I've also got a current student studying.
Hi, my name is Adelaide and I've just finished my first year at Whittle University studying veterinary physiotherapy. This whole journey began for me 3 years ago when I enrolled on an animal management course at Otley College, and at the time I didn't want to go to uni. I didn't see it as an option, I didn't think I was clever enough for it, and then about halfway through my first year of college I decided I was really enjoying it and I didn't want to stop learning about the things I was passionate about after 2 years. So I started looking at unis. Whittle is only about an hour away from me, and it's an agricultural college like Otley, and they do a veterinary physiotherapy course, which I was interested in because I love anatomy and I already had experience with horses, so I felt like it was perfect and I applied for it. I didn't apply for anywhere else or any other course, and luckily I got the grades and I've never looked back. I enjoy every minute of it. I wouldn't have done it any differently. There's lots of things that I've enjoyed about uni in my first year. I think one of the main things was meeting new people, whether that's lecturers or outside speakers or people on other courses. I've just really enjoyed listening to their ideas, their opinions, their knowledge. That's been a big part of university that I've enjoyed. I think also just the whole university life. I live on campus at Whittle and I've really enjoyed it. It's just everyone's very friendly. It's been sort of like a big family there really, and I've really enjoyed going to all the events and being able to work and live a bit more independently. For me personally means I can be a bit more creative with my work without kind of having someone watching you or telling you what to do completely, so that's been really good. I have really enjoyed university life, and not only the parties and the drinking but also being able to indulge myself into something that I'm passionate about and something that I really enjoy, and then to also be able to relate that to a future career has been really enjoyable for me, and I'm excited to get on to the next few years and start progressing with that. Although it's only my first year, there have been challenges. I think one of the main things I hadn't quite prepared myself was how to cope with being so overwhelmed with the work. The first semester you get a lot of work thrown at you and you're told you have to complete all of this in this year and this is what's going to happen, and I'm not very good at taking each day as it comes. So for me, all of that work I would just think about at once and it would all get on top of me and stress me out with how much there was. That was a big challenge, and I had to learn to kind of just take each day as it came, each tiny challenge step by step, and then see the bigger picture at the end. Now when I look back at everything I've done, it seems absolutely massive, but at the time when I was just doing little bit by little bit, it was actually okay. And now that I know how to do that, I feel like starting in my second year is going to be much easier, knowing that if I just plug away at it slowly, it will get done. That was one of the main challenges. I think when you're starting university, there's a lot of fear as well about, am I going to make friends? What happens if I don't, or if I don't get on with people? And actually that was pretty much by the first week, that fear was completely gone. You've got to remind yourself that everyone's in the same boat when you start university. Everyone's nervous about the same things, and it is very easy to make friends. I recommend just getting involved, going to events, going to games nights, societies, just really getting involved and talking to people, and you'll find that really quickly you make a lot of friends. So that was sort of one of the very first challenges that I felt I had to face. I think another big challenge is, although I've enjoyed living independently, I think that is a big challenge, not having somebody to sort of tell you what to do all the time, being able to rely on yourself. I'd really recommend for people starting uni to get yourself a calendar and write down all of the deadlines so you know exactly how long you have to complete it, and give yourself extra time. and it really helps to just see it all and not get so bogged down and just keep on track, because otherwise you just get so much and you don't stick to them, and you've got no one telling you to stick to them, so you just forget when things are due. So that's a big tip there, get yourself a calendar. I think another big challenge for me was that I wasn't very resilient to setbacks. If I didn't do very well on something, or I was kind of given a bit of criticism, I'd take it to heart a bit and kind of not let that push me forward. Instead, I'd kind of take a step back and let it get to me. Whereas uni has taught me actually to take any criticism, any feedback, any failures, and actually use it to progress and learn from it, and then do better next time, or not make that mistake next time. And that's been a big thing that I wish somebody had sort of explained to me before I went. You can't help being sensitive and unresilient, but if I was mentally prepared a bit more for that, then I think I could have done a bit better, especially at the very beginning. I didn't want to do anything wrong. I wanted to get good grades for everything, and realistically that's not going to happen, and you're not going to learn from that. So that was a big challenge that I had to kind of overcome at first. I think one of the main differences between college and uni is about how one-on-one college was. You got to really know your lecturers at college, and they did give you a lot of more help and kind of pushed you along to get you to finish assignments and get you to pass exams and stuff, and you don't have that as much, although I'm sure as I progress in the course I'll get to know the lecturers a lot more and they'll get to know me. But I know in this first year at the moment there's a lot of us, and we're not as close. The lecturers at university don't chase you up every 5 minutes to get work done, so it is up to you. That's, I would say, one of the main differences, and they just allow you to be a bit more independent, which I really enjoy. For me personally, I didn't find the leap from college to uni to actually be that challenging. I felt that college did set me up quite well for university life, and I was quite prepared for what was to come. One of the main skills that I'm so grateful for college teaching me was referencing. We were able to practice referencing and using citations and finding journals before I went to uni, so that already gave me a bit of a step up when it came to writing the first assignments, because the concept wasn't completely alien to me and I didn't need to practice it because I already knew kind of what to do. I think it did set me up well, and mentally I was really prepared for what was to come, so it didn't become that much of a shock moving from college to university. My goal is to one day run my own business as a veterinary physiotherapist, with the potential for travelling or working with exotic animals, and I know I've got a lot of work to do if I want to get there, but I think it's really important to create a career pathway or a career timeline for anyone who wants a job after university, to be able to see an end goal and see a step-by-step way of getting there. I think it's really easy with the amount of work and things going on in your life to forget what you're working towards, and to be able to see a way of getting there can really help you to stay focused. So that's a tip I'd give to anybody starting, because it has really helped me to stay on track and to see a reward at the end of all the work.
Physiotherapy route at Whittle College to give you a bit more of an insight into her university experience, and then hopefully you enjoy this video. Next video will be online tomorrow, and that will be looking or giving a brief introduction at a specialist area in zoology. We're going to look at if you want to work with exotics and what degrees to pursue, and particularly